Hello and welcome to the music of the summer of 98. This was originally going to be exactly like the movies in 98, but it is really fucking tough to like define when music happened. Also, someone who was like 3 for the majority of 98, like I have no personal point of reference. I originally used the top 100 and like what charted there as my reference point, but instead of this being like a debate or a ranking, we are going to build a playlist as a collective of all of the music from 98 that we love, and it will be your summer of 98 playlist that you can enjoy, reflective of your summer. I'm joined, as always, by Jeff, Eric, and Gavin, and Nick, and I am excited to hear your musical choices, because I love music, but it is a massive blind spot for me. I've not nearly invested as much time into music as I have like movies or video games.
Dude, this is where like I'm the opposite. I have invested way more time and effort and love into music than any other entertainment medium in my life. And so I feel like I know infinitely more about it than movies or video games, and I'm so jazzed. I created my own separate list to pull from because I was listening to a very specific kind of music in the time, and I'm largely ignorant to what was going on in the popular culture at the time. I just can't wait to get going.
Oh, that's awesome. I am so excited to hear your music.
I really like what we're doing with this one. I was worried that after we got done with like the debate and sort of ranking of like top 10, I'm like, I just can't imagine that my music and Gavin's music is ever going to like, really like meet in the middle.
Yeah.
It's so 98 was a time when I turned 12, and it was when I was really like finding music, listening to the radio a lot, and then getting past stuff on the radio a lot and finding stuff that was like, oh, whoa, I like this. I'm going to listen to that. And it was becoming sentient, like through music, which was very exciting.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I was right before that stage. Like I didn't have access to my own music yet, or I couldn't change the radio yet. So I was just, it was whatever my parents listened to in 98 still.
Sure.
Yeah. And I really like the idea of us not having to like go crazy here and make something that's like, okay, we got to like rank these, but we're just making a list of songs that we feel like should be on a playlist.
Well, and it's hard to argue a bunch of songs that none of us have ever heard.
Totally.
Right.
Or against, you know?
So this is like the ultimate summer of 98 playlist, which is not to say this is music that just came out in the summer of 98, but more like music for your summer of 98, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm very into. So we're trying to kind of stay within like that 98 range, I think. And that's just kind of where we're at with this stuff. I think, do you want to kind of go one by one and everyone like picks a song in order and talks about why they want to pick that song?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think maybe like when you're out of songs, just say like, I'm done adding to the list, and then it'll just keep cycling until everyone has filled what they want.
Okay. I can make a list. I can kind of like jot these down as we go, and I'll share it with you guys if you want to keep an eye on it or whatever. And you can also sort of edit as we move or whatever. But this will be a playlist that I think we'll put together and share out with everyone when this comes out, so you can sort of shuffle it and listen to it for your ultimate summer of 98 playlist.
I'm looking at this document of some of the songs here. I can't believe some of these are from the summer of 98. Like I would have put money on these being from so much earlier.
Yep.
So that's like
Ace of Base, Cruel Summer.
That's the one that gets me every single time.
I thought that was in the 80s.
Me too.
Landslide by
No.
Fleetwood Mac gets me because that's from like 1977.
Yeah.
Is it re-release?
No. Like Ace of Base was a 90s band, and like
When was All That She Wants?
90. That was probably 96.
What?
Whoa.
You don't think so?
Oh, no.
All That She Wants, 1992.
Oh my God. I thought that was 80s shit. That's crazy.
No. They were hard 90s.
Weren't they a Euro? What's the fucking Euro trap? What's the thing?
Eurovision?
Eurovision. Aren't they a Eurovision band?
I don't know.
I have
Are
no
they?
idea.
That
I
would
don't
be
know,
so
right?
weird because they were pinned as the next ABBA, and ABBA was a Eurovision band, right?
Ace of Base,
Yeah.
Swedish pop group formed in 1990.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Jesus. That's
blows me
blown my
away.
penis out.
Yeah, does not. I don't think that they're Eurovision.
Medic!
Then. I just assumed that. Anyway, hey, what order do we want to go in? Do we want to do an egg?
Yeah, let's do Anna.
Yeah, hey, we can do Anik. So what, that means I'm first?
That's your first, Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go. This is like very basic for its time. It's on the top 100 list that charted. I'm gonna go with "Stop" by the Spice Girls. I fucking loved the Spice Girls as a kid. It's such fun music. The movie was great. We might be on a future list depending on the content we do. I think they're such a fun pop group, and they were a very major part of my childhood as far as like music listening goes.
Did you
Love
think
the Spice
"Stop"
Girls.
was a good song in itself?
I think "Stop" is a great song. I think it's one of their top songs.
Thank you very much.
I totally agree with you, Andrew. I feel like this was right at the end of girl power and
Sure.
Spice Girl stuff and everything. But I think this is probably their best song.
It's up there for sure. Yeah, I definitely top 2, I'd say.
Yeah.
And that is my first selection.
Okay, Nick.
You know, Gavin was talking earlier about how he was kind of at the mercy of his folks still, and that's kind of where I was at. I was about 10 in 98, and so I didn't quite have my own feel for music yet. And sometimes you just get those earworms that would never go away. And I think "Tub Thumping" by Chumbawamba really is one of those songs that even now, when you still hear it, you'll find yourself.
It's one of those songs too that if you don't know it well enough, you end up in a chorus loop. Like it just goes in circles and it can go on infinitely. Yeah, if you don't get into Danny Boy, then you're just stuck in that.
But I always remember "Pissing the Night Away." So
Are you familiar with that band at all,
No,
Nick?
not even a
Do you know
little.
anything about Chumbawamba
Not
other
even
than
a
that song?
little.
Interesting
They're
history
like-
of that band.
They're like an anarchist punk band.
What?
Yeah, they
Really?
they came from a band called Conflict. It was members from a band called Conflict, and yeah,
They took a turn.
That's
it seems in this
crazy.
yeah,
No.
it was a weird deal. I think they were setting out to like create a pop. I think they were just. Do you know why they did it? I remember there's a reason. They were either trying to get rich or they were trying to be clever or something.
I'm
I
sure
don't
it was
know.
both.
Yeah,
You got to have something to fund your Marxism, I suppose.
yeah.
Mm.
Um,
one. So here's
Gotta
a
keep
pop
the lights
hit.
on.
yeah. I mean, so there's that. Okay, I think that's a great one. My pick is this is not necessarily the type of music that I was listening to a lot of in 1998, but I think this is probably one of my favorite songs now, and it's "Nobody Does It Better" by Nate Dogg. R.I.P.
Ooh.
Nate
Oh,
Dogg.
it's so
Rest in
good.
peace. I think Nate Dogg was underrated in everything that he did.
Rest in
Mhm.
peace.
Nate Dogg fucking rules. I love that song. I think that absolutely belongs on this playlist. Love it.
100%.
Yeah.
It's so good. I bought the entire, it's not I don't think a 98 song. I bought the Transporter movie soundtrack because of a Nate Dogg song. It was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what the song title is. Like, I got game because the game was given to me. Bum, bum, bum. Love for the ghetto, down for whatever. I don't remember anything else, but I would play that on
That's
loop.
enough.
It's called "I Got Love."
Fantastic.
Yeah. I like Nate Dogg because his logo also is like this rabbit that wears a hat and is like G'd
Yeah.
out. I love the G-Funk. I love the G-Funk rabbit. Thank you, Nate Dogg. Now, are we doing Jeff or are we doing Gavin?
How does Aneg go?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I never know which G I am in the
I
egg.
think it goes Jeff
neither.
Gavin. I think it goes
Okay.
Jeff Gavin.
Sounds good.
I guess I'm up then. Okay, so the first song I'm picking, Eric. I guess you're writing these down or something. So we can.
I am. I'm
Okay.
keeping a copy of them right here in the link I'm sending.
Just so you know, I sent a link to my Punk Summer of '98 playlist that I created there,
Okay.
so you can find the songs there. There's gonna be. We won't get to all those songs, obviously. But
Okay.
The first song I'm going to pick is from one of my favorite bands of all time. This is back summer of 1998. I was 22, 23 years old. This is when I was as obnoxiously into punk as humanly possible. From about 15 until like maybe 28 or 29, I was militant and annoying about it, and I ignored all other forms of music to my own detriment. I have learned later in life, I really wish that I hadn't been such a little prick about it all. But luckily, 1998 was one of the best years of punk music in my lifetime. So the first song I'm picking is 5 Lessons Learned by the Swingin' Utters.
Nice.
From their album, 5 Lessons Learned. It is a fucking banger from start to finish. Might be the best song that you'll hear on this whole playlist. And interesting thing about Swingin' Utters, the band, they're from California, they're from San Francisco. The band used to be called Johnny P. Bucks and the Swingin' Utters, but they truncated that name because Swingin' Utters is cooler. And the reason they came up with that name is because the lead singer, Johnny Bennell, who I interviewed one time for one of my punk scenes, one night in San Francisco when they were hanging out after a show, before they were in the band, he got really drunk and pissed himself. And then they went to Taco Bell, and when he pulled his money out, his money was covered in his piss, and he had to pay for the Taco Bell with piss-covered money. So they gave him the nickname Johnny P. Bucks. And then they started the band. There you go. 5 Lessons Learned by the Swingin' Utters. Fantastic song.
Wow.
Entire album is a banger, but that's the best song on it.
Wow.
That's good. I like that. Gavin.
For me, the summer of '98 was ruled by Fatboy Slim. It was probably my first introduction to music that had samples of other people's music. I assume very late to that. So Rockefeller Skank, Fatboy Slim.
What a
I think
song.
that's a good pick.
Yeah.
It's a great pick.
Very 98.
Right
Very.
about now.
Yeah. So my relationship with Rockefeller Skank is it was one of the like title tracks to a FIFA game I had on the PS1, and it was my favorite song on that game. And as part of this exercise of like listening to the top 100 listed songs that's on there, I listened to it. I've had the lyrics wrong my entire life. My entire life. I thought the lyrics were right about now, the funk's so rubber. And that has been what I thought up until like 2 weeks ago when I re-listened to this and learned it's Funk Soul Brother.
Funk Soul Brother.
The funk so rubber.
I thought it was the funk so rubber right about
If
now.
you've ever listened to the original sample of that, it's just like some guy introing his track.
Yep.
I don't know how he ever found that and thought that will make a great sample. It's so obscure. It might be one of his most obscure samples of all time.
That's awesome.
It's a good one. I like it. Come back around, Andrew.
I'm going for another. I have no other points of reference for this person's music. But as part of the discovery of this process, I listened to Paper by Queen Latifah for the first time.
Oh.
And that song is a fucking banger. That's a great song. It's essentially a do-over of Heard It Through the Grapevine. Like,
Yeah.
it takes all of it, but there's some lyrical changes to it. Just a fucking banger of a song. Like, really liked it, really enjoyed it. Charted in the summer of 98. Not that that's important, but it made me want to explore Queen Latifah's music, which is something that I have never had any interest in checking out, just not on my radar.
I wonder if she's underrated as a musician.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm just out of the scene. I feel like she's not rated at all at this point, but like I'm pretty disconnected. So, yeah, I was really impressed by that song, and I enjoyed it way more than I assumed I would going into it.
Okay. I like it. Nick?
So this is a song that I feel like was everywhere. And again, you know, you could just flip through the radio and find it on whatever pop station or whatever it was playing on. And it's also been featured in a lot of car ads over the years. So anytime it pops back up, it's going to be on your mind again. And, you know, it's also one of those meme-ified songs. So it's been 1 week by Bare Naked Ladies.
From our dear friends, the Bare Naked Ladies.
Yep.
That's very funny.
Chickadee China.
That's a good one though. That's a
it's
very
great.
good. That's a very good pick because man, again, inescapable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even to this
Uh,
day.
And that song just makes you stand up. Like if I'm lounging around, I hear that, I'm just like, here we go. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just like getting up to like be a part of that. I love it.
Man, that is a song and a band that's very near and dear to Rooster Teeth and their history. That's a great choice.
Captain Dynamic.
Captain Dynamic.
Yeah, Captain Dynamics.
Flowers.
Yeah, Captain Flowers.
Um,
The only dude I know who's crashed a plane and walked away from it.
that's awesome.
He once sung my name into one of his songs, and it's still probably the coolest thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
Oh,
That's so cool.
absolutely.
Let's see. So I go next. Really different from my first pick, but this was very instrumental in what music I would listen to for the next 10 years, whatever. San Francisco by Alkaline Trio. Alkaline Trio, a punk band that had an album in 1998 called God Damn It that I
Is their
listened
best
to
album.
endlessly. I mean, just if you could wear a hole in a CD, it would be this. It was half an hour long. The album is half an hour long, and it would end, and I would just go play it again. Eric, doesn't matter. Yeah.
Eric, I have 3 songs from that album on my playlist. Yeah, I did.
What songs did you pick?
I threw Cringe, Clavicle,
Yep.
and my personal favorite. Where did it go? Sorry about that. The last song on the album.
They're great. All great songs. I wanted
acoustic.
something that would fit in a playlist that was a little more up. So
Yeah.
I think San Francisco really fits. Clavicle, I think, is one of my favorite songs by that band. If you don't know Alkaline Trio and you're like older now, you probably don't need to go back and listen to it. I think you're gonna be like, oh, this sounds like a little bit dated, and it does. But just know that when Blink-182 needed someone to fill in, and they went with Matt Skiba, it is like all of my worlds colliding in one band, and it was. If I could have been 12 and seeing that, I would have lost my fucking mind.
It was pretty insane. It was pretty insane.
Magic.
Matt
Really, really
Skiba's
magic.
such a phenomenal singer. Such an interesting dude. Him and Dan Adriano, the other guy that sings in Alkaline Trio as well.
Great stuff. Alkaline Trio, God damn it, still one that I hold very near and dear. So that's my pick.
Okay, so that's Eric. Is it my turn now?
Yeah. Now it's
All right, I have a bunch of Alkaline Trio stuff I want to add to that, but I'll just wait till I pull them up.
got it.
The next song I'm going to go with is it's up there for the second best song on my playlist here. It's every time. It's one of those songs that every time you hear it, you start dancing and you start moving. No matter where you are. It's a song by a hardcore band out of Virginia called Avail, who is a very, very, very beloved and respected band. And this was their biggest album to date. It was their most melodic album to date. And it's called Over the James. And the song they released was called Deepwood. And if you listen to it, it'll be stuck in your head for the rest of your fucking life. It is a phenomenal ass-kicking song. And one of the things that I always liked, I thought that was interesting about Avail, because I'm going to give you a little factoid about each band or whatever, as long as I have one. They're from Virginia. I was from Alabama. I grew up hating being from Alabama, hating being an Alabamian. You know that. I make fun of it all the time. I hate it. I got out of there as soon as I could. And I was always bummed about that. I looked at other people that were proud of where they were from. And I always kind of hated being from the South. I joined the Army. Being from the South and the Army was not a cool thing. I got shit on a lot for it. And especially in the 90s. And so I really tried my best early on to try to like eschew the southern part out of me. Then I discovered Avail, and they are so militantly proud of being from Virginia and being from the South that it made me look at Alabama in a totally different way. And I thought, if they can be proud of Virginia and be proud of where they're from, I can find stuff about Alabama that I like that I can be proud of too. It's okay to be from, to be some dumb redneck from the South. And so I tried, and turns out there's nothing there. I couldn't find anything. But I appreciate that they're happy about being from Virginia. I really, they emboldened me to find that in Alabama, and it just wasn't there. But I tried.
Great pick. Right. I think very cool. Jeff, if this is for no one else, you're scratching an itch for me.
Thanks, man.
When you're throwing this stuff out there.
I really appreciate this information as somebody who doesn't like just a different era of music for me.
Yeah,
sure,
definitely. Gavin.
This one isn't on this list, but I remember it being all over the radio. It is this called Feel It, which was based on Can You Feel It by Jackson 5. It was that song mixed with some other song. So it's just basically the main melody of the Jackson 5 song with the lyrics, what's she gonna look like with a chimney on her? And I always remember thinking, like, what does that mean? It just repeats. Firstly, it just takes ages for the drop to happen, and then it just repeats, what's she gonna look like with a chimney on her? So I looked up where that sample's from. Apparently, it's from another song where one of the lyrics is, wanna drop a house on that bitch. So I guess they want to find out what some woman would look like with a chimney on her.
This is the song with the bells.
It's the bells, yeah.
This is the song with the bells in it. I looked it up, and it's dun dun dun,
yeah,
dun dun dun. Those bells that like, oh man, I remember this.
Yeah, just endlessly looping. But those bells are in the Jacksons song.
Yeah. Wow, man. Yep, that was an everywhere one. That's fun. That's good. Good pick. Andrew, back to you.
Going with a classic from one of my favorite groups, Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys.
Nice.
Great pick.
Fantastic
Yeah.
Great
song.
pick.
Good pick.
Like whenever you hear it, like it pumps me up. It's
Yeah,
a great
fantastic.
song. The video is awesome for it. Like there's so many great just Beastie Boy videos in general. Like what a classic group. What a great song.
That's Hello Nasty. Is that album? Jeff,
No,
do you know?
it's Intergalactic. I think it's on. No, is it Hello Nasty? I gotta look it up now.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay. Yes,
Hello
it's on
Nasty
Hello Nasty.
is a big ass album.
Do you know where they got the name Hello Nasty from?
Nuh-uh.
No.
no.
So they owned I don't know if they still do, but they owned a clothing shop in New York City for a while in one of the boroughs, and it was like it was back when like people were really first starting to get into monetizing shit from Goodwill, and like thrifting and vintage was starting to come up in like the young culture. And so they had a store, and I think it was called Nasty, or maybe that was the address. But anyway, there was, anytime the phone would ring, the girl that behind the counter, she would answer "Hello Nasty," and they thought that was really funny. That's how they answered
had no
the phone.
idea.
And so they named the album that. Yeah.
That rules.
If this is on the list, then like the song that I would pick from this album would be Body Movin'. I think Body Movin' is so good.
Great song.
Also, 3 MCs and 1 DJ. Incredible. Both incredible songs that are on Hello Nasty also. But I think Intergalactic is definitely the strongest pick in the whole thing. But-
Not Intergalactic specific, but just like a thing for people to check out the Beastie Boys. Watch their live performance of Check It Out.
Oh, yeah.
On Letterman. So fucking cool. It's like a one shot where they start from the New York subway and then walk to Letterman and then continue the performance live.
Yeah,
that sounds
It's
great.
fucking awesome.
Yep. If you're looking that up, you should look up the music video for 3 MCs and 1 DJ, because the whole first, before the song starts at 1 minute and 40 seconds in or whatever, it is the Beastie Boys holding a pose downstairs and just a camera walking to get to them, and then the music video starts. It is a minute and a half of nothing. It's fantastic. It's so cool.
And then after you do that, listen to the entire album, Paul's Boutique. It is the most overlooked Beastie Boys album because it was their follow-up to License to Ill, and it was before, it came in before Check Your Head, which was another huge one. It was kind of in a weird place, but it is one of the most, it couldn't be made today because they sampled more music. It was like a girl talk album.
Yeah.
They sampled so much music in there before sampling became an issue. And so they literally couldn't make the songs today. The licensing would be insane. But it is a brilliant album from start to finish, and it doesn't get enough respect.
It's really good. It's produced by the Dust Brothers, and it has so many samples and so many different songs, and what a cool thing from a band that didn't want to be rappers but wanted to be a hardcore band.
Yeah. Fucking Shake Your Rump, best Beastie Boys song ever.
Wow. That's
Such a great song.
It's a
such a great song. You listen to it now, it is just fun for just all the way through. You can't stop smiling when you listen to it.
It's very, very good. Great pick, Andrew. Nick.
You know, this is another one of those songs that I feel like gets stuck in your head, but this is also one that it sneaks past you when you're younger. Like I said, I was about 10 when this came out, and I don't know, even into my teenage years, that I caught kind of the filthiness of the song. Semi-Charmed Life by Third Eye Blind.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I was talking to my wife the other day, and she was like, "Did you know what that song's about?" And I said no, and then she like read the lyrics to me. I was just reading through them. One of them is like,
Doing crystal meth will lift you up until you break.
yeah. And there's a whole line about like when she comes over and is going down on him. It's like, what?
Uh-huh.
That's in a pop song from when I was 10, and I loved it. What's wrong with me?
Semi-Charmed Life, great song. Great 90s pop
I love
song.
that song.
You are taking a pick away from me because I was absolutely going to go with man, there's so many choices on that album.
Oh, yeah, for
Burning
sure.
Man, London, Motorcycle Drive-By, God of Wine, How's It Gonna Be? That's probably one of my favorite 90s albums.
Wow.
It is probably, I think, one of the best produced albums in the 90s. To get that performance out of that band that had such a volatile singer-songwriter who like really couldn't get anything else. Well, they had like another album, but like I think like 1 or 2 singles off of it. To have the success that album had, that kind of production and that kind of maestro that it takes to get something like that out of that band is, I think, really unrecognized. And if you can put that album on front to back, but if you can find a physical copy of it, because the copy that you get on iTunes or Spotify or whatever is a remixed version and not the original version that you would hear. I hate it. It is,
what?
there are changes to Graduate that I don't like. There are changes to so many of the songs. Like Losing a Whole Year sounds different, and it's really a bummer. It's really, really, really a bummer. But good, excellent pick. Excellent,
Thank you.
excellent, excellent pick, Nick. I love it.
It was a good year, man.
Yeah, it was. Great song. Maybe, I don't know if it's the number 1 song about doing crystal meth, but it might be up there.
Draft idea.
Yeah, my pick is Ghetto Superstar by Praz.
Oh, so good.
Decent.
It's a great song. Maya has a great feature on it. I think Praz is the weakest part of the song. I think the best part of the song is ODB. And if you don't know the story behind the song, this makes it even better. ODB is not supposed to be on that track. This is for the Bulworth soundtrack. It is on Praz's. This is Praz. He is putting this out. Praz is from the Fugees. This is his solo effort. He's doing the song with Maya. ODB is supposed to be recording stuff for RZA in New York, but he happens to be in LA and walks into the studio. He hears the beat. He's fucked up. They don't know what he's on. He's drunk. He's something. He hears the beat and he likes it. And they go, do you want to just be on this? So he just steps up and lays down his verse. It fucking rules.
That's awesome.
That song is a massive hit. And then ODB is everywhere in that time. I love Old Dirty Bastard so fucking much. He is the coolest. He has given us so many moments, but I need to share this with you if I can. This is ODB. Let me share my screen. We won't be able to put this in the video, but I do want you guys to be able to see and hear this because this is on the end of them promoting this song, and this is from MTV 1998.
Okay.
Here it is.
That's so good.
Wow.
What are you going to do to give back to the community? Points to himself. Nothing.
It is such a tragedy that dude died.
ODB is the greatest of all time. And to put a bow on this, Praz was found guilty of 10 counts of criminal conspiracy in
Oh my God.
Criminal conspiracy and campaign finance charges. So
Oh.
If If you ever want to go down the ODB rabbit hole, he had some phenomenal Howard Stern appearances over the years. Just absolutely classics. The dude changed his name from Old Dirty Bastard to Big Baby Jesus. And then after that, he changed his name to Dirt McGirt. And he had like 13 kids. He was truly one of a kind.
Wu-Tang still tours, and Young Dirty Bastard, one of ODB's kids, fills in for him for all of his parts. And I saw them live, and he's so fucking good.
That's awesome.
Young Dirty Bastard rules. Anyway, that's a very long-winded story. I'm sorry, but that's my pick. I love ODB.
Okay. That's a great pick, Eric.
Thank you.
I guess I am up next, so I'm going to continue on with, this is, we were speaking about Sweden earlier. This is another Swedish band, and this was a really important album in the world of punk rock and kind of a misunderstood album. This is, I'm going to pick, it's not the best song from the album, but it's the most popular song, and it's the one you'll recognize, and it's a phenomenal song. I'm going to pick the song New Noise by the band Refused. The thing about this album, it came out in 1998. They were a hardcore band from Sweden that was really popular. They had some victory releases that were really good, and they created this album called The Shape of Punk to Come, which is a pretty ballsy album title. They were basically throwing down the gauntlet and saying, we are going to create the sound that punk will become going forward. And they released this album. This album, one of the best albums ever made. I truly believe that. When it came out, it got slammed by negative reviews and bad reviews for about the first 3 weeks it came out. The band broke up because of the reviews.
Wow.
They released what became, and by the way, about 6 months later, it became acknowledged that this is one of the best albums of all time, and it was the shape of punk to come. If you listen to that album through the entirety, you're going to recognize so much of what punk and music and that kind of sound turned into. They were right. They really, with that one album, turned that scene on its head and reinvented punk rock.
So nobody got it yet?
They didn't. They got negative reviews for like 3 weeks. They were brutally depressed, right? Because it was so different from the work that they had done before. And they were really going out on a limb, and it got panned. And so they broke up, and that was it. Then that album became one of the most popular albums of the era and of that and of punk. And so 16 years later, they got back together and played a reunion show, and they didn't realize how popular they were.
Yeah.
Because they were so depressed and bummed out by it. So now they're back together, I think. I actually got to see them play at South Fun Fest in, I think, 2016. And cool. It was one of maybe the best show I've ever seen. One of the best albums of all time. A phenomenal song, New Noise by The Refused. They made a bold statement when they said they were going to change punk rock, and they did. Unfortunately, it cost them their band.
Was that who you went to see when I went and watched Girl Talk?
Yeah, it was one of the most difficult decisions I've had to make because Girl Talk was playing on one stage and Refused were playing on another stage. And I was already planning to go to Sweden to see them locally in Sweden when I found out they were back together. But then they played Austin, and so I went. And Refused was better than Girl Talk, but Girl Talk was very good too. It was difficult to have to run back and forth between the two shows.
The thing that I always thought about with the New Noise music video is it's the shape of the punk to come and all that stuff. Every band ripped off this look.
Yeah.
4 years later. It
absolutely
is crazy how this is that's what Thursday and Taking Back Sunday and every band just looked like the way that Refused looked in 1998.
It probably the most influential, one of the 3 or 4 most influential punk bands.
Yeah.
Or albums of all time. I would put Op Ivy up there with that as well. Would just like change the scene forever after that album came out.
Gavin.
In the summer of 98, a lot of my time was taken up by this thing.
Yeah. Oh, I know where we're going, baby.
I know what you're doing.
Therefore, it's coming home, baby.
Uh-oh.
3 Lions. The 1998 version. Obviously, it was originally written for the Euros in 96. Featuring different lyrics that they changed for the 98 version. I think one of the lyrics from the 96 version was 30 years of hurt because England haven't won the World Cup since 1966. And then I think last year, comedians Frank Skinner and David Baddiel, who made the song with the lightning seeds, released a new 2022 version, which featured the lyrics 56 years of hurt. which I thought was very funny.
Oh, that's
great.
That's awesome.
The male team still has not won since 1966. But that song was bumping through the houses in the summer of 98.
Oh, that's hilarious.
What a pick.
That's a very funny pick. I like that.
56 years.
Andrew.
Incredible. Yes.
Andrew, your pick.
This is such a weird follow-up to this, because when I think of like music I listened to as a kid that lived within that space exclusively, Spice Girls, and the other artist that comes to mind is Ricky Martin. Running through the house, listening to Ricky Martin. I actually thought that this is what Gavin was going to pick, because I'm going with The Cup of Life by Ricky Martin, which was the theme to the France 98 World Cup. It was the song for the World Cup of that year. There's some real bangers for World Cup songs. Something I learned in I was like, wow, every World Cup song I can think of is a banger. So I was looking at the list. They introduced mascot songs in 2012 or whatever, 2012, 2014 in that era, which I think is fucking hilarious to have a song dedicated to the mascot of that World Cup. It was a Pitbull song, which is even better, but more focused on my pick. Ricky Martin to me is such a staple of the 90s. His music was just so much fun to listen to, running around the house. Great song, an absolute banger, The Cup of Life.
I love it.
Awesome.
That has a special place in my heart because Mega 64 100th podcast, and then really subsequent every 100 podcasts, it would just be, instead of an episode, they would just dance to Cup of Life and release that. I don't know why that's the funniest song, but it's the funniest song. That's very good. Nick.
So before we started recording, Jeff dropped a link in our Discord about highly empathic people who have a unique view of music and just how they react to it and everything. And so we were talking about how I think we both kind of feel that, Jeff and I. And this is the song that I feel like it was the first song that it really I don't know, had an emotional almost response to it. I don't know, every time I hear it, I still get kind of the goosebumps, almost a little bit sad, or I don't know, kind of a weird nostalgia. The song though is Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. And there's something, I don't know, it's a power ballad, but there are moments where it's kind of sweet and slow, and it's it just has that feel to it of just being really, I don't know, somber, if that's the right way to put it. But I don't know, it just sticks with me, and every time I hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta turn this up.
That's a huge song too.
Yeah,
it's a banger.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, that was a big, I felt like it was everywhere, inescapable, right? In that time.
Still kind of is, I feel like.
Yeah, I definitely feel like you could definitely hear that song a lot. I feel like Goo Goo Dolls have been around for a very, very, very long time. Got popular in the late 90s, but were around in the 80s.
Yeah, I think so too. That album also, that year, also had a bunch of songs that were really sad, like Slide. They had a lot of songs on there. You're like, oh, this is some really messed up stuff.
Yeah, this is a good one. A good pick. Thank you. I am going in a different direction from my last picks, where so far I've chosen a lot of hip hop and some punk stuff or whatever. This song I feel like is it's weird that it came out when it did because it was recorded so long before. But my pick is Sweetest Thing by U2. It was recorded in 80. When did Joshua Tree come out? 86? 87? And then was released in 98.
Whoa.
Yeah, very weird, right? And Bono wrote it as an apology to his wife. And
was he just sitting on it?
It is. It is a song that was very weird that it never really came out and then released in 98, huge song. And it, to me, marks the end. I've had a lot of conversations with Shane at work about this time in music, because this is right when alternative starts going away and like on the radio, and you get instead this rise of adult contemporary, and that's like One Headlight by what's Jacob Dylan's band, The Wallflowers, and you get like Sweetest Thing, and you get Sheryl Crow's stuff. There's just like this turn in music, and Sweetest Thing is a really big thing. It's like VH1 takes over. That's how this song is for me, but I think it's a great U2 song because it's, recorded during Joshua Tree sessions, which are probably some of their best stuff. So, big U2 fan. I think it's a great song.
All right, that's an awesome pick.
Fantastic.
I guess I'm up.
Yep.
The next band I'm going to pick is a band that has a very special place in my heart because I was lucky enough to be in New Jersey, living in Jersey in 97, 98, when all of like this explosion of really good punk was happening. And so I got to go to a ton of shows up at the Knitting Factory and at the Coney Island High, RIP, in New York City. I got to see a ton of great shows in St. Mark's Place and in that scene. And one of the bands that played there all the time, who was really, really kind of catching fire in the moment and becoming everybody's favorite band, we had no idea how big they were going to get, was this band from Massachusetts called the Dropkick Murphys. And I was really, really fortunate enough to see them with their original singer, Mike McColgan, before he left. He left after their first big album and was replaced by a guy named Al Barr, who is still the lead singer. He's very good. And if you watch the Dropkick Murphys now, that's what you're seeing. But the original Dropkick Murphys was a little less Irish and a little more street punk. And so I'm picking a very popular song called Barroom Hero from their first big album that with the original singer that is just, it's an anthem.
That's that band, man. That's a
still going strong.
Classic.
Big time.
Also, I'll say Ken Casey, one of the members of the band, is one of the coolest dudes on earth. And he recently went viral because he gave an anti-MAGA speech at a concert. It was one of the coolest fucking things I've ever seen.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good pick. I think that's I think Dropkick Murphys have a lot to say, and they've been having a lot to say for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have they found their wooden leg yet? Are they still looking?
Cool. Yeah.
I think they're still looking.
They're on the search. Gavin?
This is another thing that I could not escape. It was playing everywhere. I'm not sure if it ever made it to the US. It was a song called Horny, or apparently Horny 98. And the lyrics just went, I'm horny, 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 horny. And it did that over and over again to some trumpets.
I've never heard
What the
this.
fuck are you talking about?
Literally inescapable. It was playing everywhere for some reason.
Oh my god.
I'm going to drop a YouTube link for us because we don't know what this is. What?
What the fuck? Moose Tea featuring Hot and Juicy Horny 98, and it's just a guy in a bunny suit outside of a grocery store is the thumbnail.
This is...
Yeah, skip to like 50 seconds for the chorus.
Okay.
What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? 1998's worldwide smash hit is what it says.
Yeah, I
Jeff,
wonder if she.
thoughts?
I wonder if she ever got laid.
I think she was in Heat.
Oh my god.
So horny. I'm horny.
Insane.
Horny.
We don't need to read the lyrics.
I like that it's called Horny 98.
Oh man.
Did she sing it 98 times?
Oh, she might have.
Andrew, another one?
I'm going to say this is my last pick because I've got
Okay.
a lot of other things, but this is the last one I feel strongly about. And maybe it's just like a bias for like the time I grew up in. Obviously, like that's a very impactful thing for like how you perceive music. I view like the 90s and like the boy band era of music to be like the best junk food period of music. And I say that lovingly in the sense of like, these are manufactured songs designed in every way and have nothing like natural in them, but they are so easy to listen to. They're such an earworm. They're so catchy. I am going with When the Lights Go Out by Five.
Wow.
I have nothing really impactful to say about Five as a group. Didn't really know a lot about them before starting this process, but the chorus of that song has been stuck in my head since I listened to it. It's such a I would say it's a banger, and I just have such a love of this era of like pop music.
Five,
It's
like the British
fantastic.
boy band Five?
Yes.
Yes.
That is who he's talking about.
I had no idea that was an international band, to be honest.
Yeah. I will say it wasn't. You kind of heard the song in the US a little bit, but it was not.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's see. Billboard Top 100. It was peak position, number 10. But I mean, in Canada, it also reached number 10. Why do you have an affection for this?
Wow.
Why do I have an
How
affection for
crazy.
it?
Yeah. How funny.
I just, yeah, it's something I listened to as part of this process, and it just got stuck in my head. And like the next day I woke up and the first thing in my brain was when the lights go out. And much like Gavin was saying, I don't know any other part of that song. So it's just a loop in my brain of that over and over and over again.
That's
Wow.
That's so crazy.
So that is my last submission. I have other songs on this list. Maybe at the end, I'd like to make an honorable mention of just like there's a song that made my list purely on some of the lyrics of it being ridiculous. But that is my last official submission.
Okay. I like it. Nick?
I'll make this my last official submission too. I got a couple others that we can do like honorable mention on, but this is a song that I heard the other day. Like I was just flipping through the radio stations here in town, and I don't do that often anymore. We have podcasts and things to listen to, and I happened to just pop over and I caught "Inside Out" by Eve 6, which came out in May of 1998, and it's just a song that gets stuck in your head right from the very beginning. And it's also one of the songs where I didn't realize when it came out. Like I thought it came out much later because I spoke to my wife and she's like, "Oh yeah, that was from '98." I was like, "What? Get out of here!"
Oh yeah, I had that CD. I remember. I don't know why I had that CD. It's not like I really liked it that much, but definitely that was a big one. That was a really big one.
Really fun, alternative song.
Yeah. I have other ones, but I'm going to go with these guys. I'm going to say this is going to be my last pick for this playlist. 1998 was definitely a lot of radio stuff for me. And I think this was probably where I developed a love for music that my wife hates because she doesn't. I really like singers with like a very like affected voice. I listen to like a lot of music like Hot Snakes and stuff like this, where it's like it's crunchy, it's different, like it just different vocals and everything. My last pick here is going to be Never There by Cake. And she can't stand this band because this guy sings and it's hardly even music. I love Cake. Cake, I think, is a great band. There are other songs that I like more on this album, but I think Never There is probably the biggest hit from the album that you could put on sort of anywhere and people will be like, oh yeah, it starts with like the phone, like dial tone and him talking, singing. And it's every time I hear it on the radio, it's such just like I love this. I fucking love this thing. But if you're going to listen to that album, I think Mexico is a better song, but I'm not going to put it on this playlist. I'm going to put Never There by Cake.
I only have one Cake song, and it's the one from Me, Myself, and Irene. So he's like whistling along to it, and then he like sucks on the woman's tit for a little bit.
What the fuck?
Are you?
You not seen that movie?
I don't remember that at all.
Hey. Yeah. I feel like I remember that.
And he has the little milk mustache after.
Yeah.
Gavin went from horny 98 to sucking on a tit.
I'll say this: Me, Myself, and Irene is better than Something About Mary.
Yeah,
I
I
agree with
agree.
that.
It's a better Farrelly.
Yeah.
Okay, so go to Jeff.
Okay, so these are last picks?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure. I had a bunch more, obviously. Maybe I can do like, we'll just list some bands I didn't get to at the end. But because this is the last pick, I'm going to pick the band that I was going to pick last. I could have put them first. I probably should have, because this probably the most important, sounds silly to say, but probably the most important album of my life for some personal reasons. In early 1998, when I was living in New Jersey, Rooster Teeth started for me a lot earlier than Rooster Teeth. I was running an online punk zine in the 90s, and I was pretty deep into it. I was doing lots of interviews with bands. I was doing lots of album reviews. I had like a staff of like stringers that would submit reviews. I was getting so many free records in. I was able to give them out to friends so they could do reviews. Like I had a little empire going, and I kept hearing about this local band from New Jersey that was getting a lot of heat, and so I reached out to them. And I asked if I could interview them, and I went and I had coffee and interviewed them one night, and we hit it off. And the trumpet player, he said, "Hey, why don't you come just sit in at our practice tomorrow?" And I was like, "Why would I do that? I don't play music." And he goes, "Just come hang out with us." And so I did, and I went and I sat in, I watched them play in a basement practice. And then after the end, I was shooting the shit with them, and they came to me and they said, "Listen, man, we really like you. We felt like we clicked with you immediately. You seem like a really good dude. Would you like to be," this is out of left field, "but would you like to be our roadie?" And I said, "Absolutely." And from that moment on, I was the roadie of a band called Catch-22. I went on one national tour with them. I was there when their lead singer left the band. I was a part of that whole thing. I got to be at ground floor when a truly phenomenal, talented band was becoming the thing that they would become, and then also going through the pains of band member changes and stuff. They released an album called Caseby Nights. I could pick any song off of Caseby Nights because they're all phenomenal, but I'm just going to pick at random 9mm and a 3-piece suit by Catch-22. I still, to this day, love them dearly and still consider most of them to be really close friends. And it's a truly awesome ska punk album, even if you don't like ska punk.
That's awesome.
Written by a bunch of 16 and 17-year-old kids.
Wow.
Keep that in mind when you listen to this album.
That's crazy.
It's really nuts when you look at music and you realize it's just written by everyone that's like 23. And you're like, wow, they're like really influencing the world at 23 years old.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Absolutely.
Great pick. I think
Thank you.
I think there's a lot of, I think you have a lot of sentimental reasons for choosing that, but I also think that great shoot. Like awesome choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just a fantastic bunch of guys, fantastic album. And, a bunch of side bands have spun off and they're all good.
Speaking of awesome choice, here isn't one. It is Vindaloo by Fat Les. Another football banger that I think was only topped by the Three Lions song. It's sort of like a military beat. Some bloke walking down the street with lyrics such as something like, "Could I interest you please in a slice of cheddar cheese?" And then they just start singing Vindaloo, Vindaloo. And it's still sung at football games to this very day.
That sounds like a very Gavin song.
You were very influenced by like football music, yeah? Like that was just like a big part of your life? Like are you like a huge football fan?
Not the biggest football fan in general, but you're just so exposed to it when your family likes football and when everyone stops everything they're doing to watch England play in the World Cup.
Very interesting. Very interesting. This is a great playlist. It's crazy. It's all over the place, but in a way where if you put these on random and they came up, you would be like, oh, fuck yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. Like, I think you'd go back to back and be like, oh, these are pretty nuts.
I honestly feel bad that some of my picks are ruining this playlist, but this is honestly the shit I was listening to.
No, that's
like,
great though.
This is great because you need stuff with different tempos and different, like you need to be, if everything's the same, I think for a playlist, it starts getting really sort of like muddy and you don't hear the songs. But if Three Lions by Lightning Seeds comes on and then the next song is 5 Lessons Learned by Swinging Utters, and then Iris by Goo Goo Dolls plays, and then it's Cup of Life by Ricky Martin, you're going to hear every one of those songs.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to hear every one of those songs. I think it's great. I think you did
me
great.
and me mum and me dad and me gran, we're off to Waterloo. Me and me mum, me dad and me gran, and a bucket of Vindaloo.
What man. I love so much about this, and I think it shows in like some of the other like draft stuff we've done, is we all grew up at different times in different places, and it's so like this playlist is such a great capturing of like what was specifically important to us in the different time periods and cultures that we grew up in. I think it's awesome. I love this playlist.
I agree. Do we want it? So that's going to be a playlist that we put together for you guys, and we'll release that for everyone. But anyone want to talk about some stuff that didn't quite make the list, or stuff that like honorable mentions? Jeff, I'm sure you have 30.
I'll just name bands. I'm just going to go. I had honorable mention. I was going to do OKFM DOA by a band called Dillinger 4. I was going to do Gotta Go by Agnostic Front. A fantastic song called History of a Boring Town by Less Than Jake, which explains what it was like to grow up in Alabama.
That's a great one.
Then 88 Fingers Louie, and one of my favorite songs of all time, Sweet Avenue by Jets to Brazil. And then,
that's so. Is that Orange Rhyming Dictionary?
Yes, that is Orange Rhyming
Was
Dictionary.
that 1998?
1998, yeah. And it's such a phenomenal song. And then there was a Lagwagon album that came out that year too. There was a lot of good stuff. But I'm really happy with the choices that made it in.
Yeah. I'll throw out Party My House Be There by MXPX from Slowly Going the Way of the Buffalo is one that didn't make my list. It's a little too sugary sweet for me to really put on the list, but I liked it a lot. How about, I think I'm Paranoid by Garbage. I think it was a huge song.
That was.
I mean, that was just I really liked that one. I wanted to put Neutral Milk Hotel, but it was like, just not really a band that I care for. But
what would you put on there?
King of Carrot Flowers. I was poking around the album and going like, I like these. I don't love these. That's just how I feel.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Man. In the Airplane Over the Sea, King of Carrot Flowers are so fucking good.
I like it. I don't love it. You Get What You Give by New Radicals is such a great one-hit wonder to me. And then last one-hit wonder, the last one that I wanted to put on, but I didn't, was The Way by Fastball. Apparently an Austin band?
Yeah, they were an Austin band.
Had no idea. Had no idea. So those are my picks. Honorable mentions, anyone else?
I have one that is like silly. It's not so. There was like discussion of figuring out what would be the best format for doing this. At one point, it was going to be a kind of a rank debate like the movie one. So I was trying to like figure out what my top 15 songs are. And so when I was doing that, I was trying to evaluate different things. And I was debating between, I discovered a song in this process by Big Punisher called Still Not a Player.
Oh, that's on my
and it has
that song's so good.
As soon as it starts, like, put a smile on my face of a chorus of Still Not a Player, but I crush a lot. I'm like, I'm laughing, like I'm smiling. I'm having a great time. And then it just definitively made my list when it goes into, I love from Butter Pecan to Blackberry Molasses. I don't discriminate. I regulate every shade of the ass. I was like, that's it. It's made it. It's made the cut. This is a great song. This is fantastic.
He's so Big Pun rules. That song rules. Still Not a Player is such a good song.
And that is my pick, and I think we've wrapped it up. Is everyone?
Anyone else honorable mention?
I have one honorable mention. I think it's technically 97, but it peaked in 98.
Who cares?
Remember Save Tonight?
And Fight the Break of Dawn?
Yeah, that's just sheerly because that's another song where it's very difficult to get out of the chorus if you don't know the next part. Just an endless loop.
That was Eagle Eye Cherry? Is that who
Eagle Eye
that was?
Cherry.
Yeah. Andrew, this was a fantastic.
This is great.
So much fun,
or whatever the fuck it is. This was a fantastic piece of content we just made, and I had so much more. I didn't know how either of these was going to go. I thought the film one would go pretty well because it's easy to argue film. I thought this would be. I was a little more concerned because music's a little more nebulous, but this couldn't have like your pivot to building the playlist together. I think was brilliant, and this was
thank you so
ended
much.
up being so much fun, and I would love to do it again.
Absolutely, I think this was so much fun. It was such a great process. I'm so excited to now listen to this playlist and hear the things that you guys added. As someone who hasn't heard a lot of these suggestions, like I'm genuinely cannot wait for this to be put together so I can go through it as well.
In that case, we should really throw In the Airplane Over the Sea from Neutral Milk Hotel on the album because I think Andrew will like that song.
Put it on the list.
It is not on the list, but it would be an honorable mention.
Honorable mention in case one of the other songs can't fulfill its duties.
It can't fulfill its duties.
It's the Snake Eyes of this. It's the first off the bench.
Neutral Milk Hotel is kind of the Snake Eyes of music. Yeah. This was really fun. This was a cool walk down memory lane. I wonder how these two pieces of show are going to be received because I feel like when we are combative at all, people go like, no, I don't like when they fight. But this was so just listing, I like this thing. And then somebody goes, that's cool. I like this thing.
This one was very mall drafted in vibes.
Yes.
I feel like.
Sure.
Oh, it was
Very
really
wholesome.
nice. Yeah. Yeah. Very,
Well,
very,
and
very much so.
we built something in it that then they can enjoy, hopefully,
Yeah.
if they enjoy the playlist. So,
Again, summer of 98, the last good summer. 1998, the last good year.
yeah.
Well, we haven't done 2013.
Really good year for music.
Yeah, it was crazy. For movies, for music, really pop culture touchdown 1998. It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Makes me want to wear a backwards hat and go on a roller coaster. That's what it, this all sounds like.
Let's go to Six Flags.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, it sounds like that.
You need to put that Dr. Seuss hat back on. That's what started.
Oh,
that's what
man.
started this whole thing.
Oh, dude, you know what? That needs to be the cover of this playlist.
Yes.
Is the Dr. Seuss hat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is
that's
what
great.
started. It was Millie getting a Dr. Seuss hat and me being jealous. And
That was at my birthday laser tag, wasn't it?
It was. That's exactly
Yeah.
what it was. So funny.
That's so funny that the genesis of this, and Eric was only jealous because Millie was like, I got all these tickets, I don't know what to buy. And Eric goes, get that hat. You want that hat. And Millie's like, all right, I'll get the hat. And then he's like, damn it, I want that hat.
And then I got the hat too. It's such a cool hat. It's
true.
so awesome.
Oh,
That was
Love
great. Andrew,
Yeah,
you want to take
awesome.
us out? You want to do a cool
yeah,
outro?
fantastic. Yeah, obviously this was the end of the summer of 98. As you said, the last good year, according to you. This was so much fun. I got to listen to you guys talk about picks, even though we have an amazing friendship. It's just nice hearing your guys' enthusiasm about things. And I feel like I learned more about your musical preferences. There may be more 98 content in the future. We will see. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have songs that you think should have been on the list, I'd love to see what those picks are as well. Somebody who just has kind of a hole in music, anything you'd like to add, I'd love to see. Thank you guys so much for sharing your picks with you and having such great responses to all this. I guess fuck 99, right? Like, we're not going forward. This is the end.
Yeah.
Bye.
We'll figure it out. Bye-bye.